Stop taking things so seriously. Because in the end, you won't care. Because you will be dead. And then you won't be here to care about all these things. So don't worry. Because your worries won't matter. Your problems won't matter. The things stressing you out, they won't matter in the future. Eventually there will come a time when none of those things matter. Because the only guarantee about life is that it will end. Because while you're still on this roller coaster of life, where the only guarantee is that it's gonna end, there's not really anything to do except just to enjoy the ride. Just look around a bit and enjoy the scenery, enjoy the view, because you truly cannot do anything else. And I always like to remember this is one of my favorite Bible quotes. A verse where Jesus says, "Who of you can add a single hour to your lives by worrying?" And it's so great. It's so amazing because it just points out how useless and how much of a waste of time worrying is. Truly, there is no point to worrying because it will not add anything to your life. It does not add anything, it just makes you feel bad and feel negative. So there's not really any point to it. It is truly a waste of time. And so don't worry. And eventually you won't worry no matter how much you would even want to worry. And the funny thing is that most likely you've been through something like this before. You might be thinking that, oh, I'm in such a bad situation, there's this and that thing stressing me out, and this bad thing happened or that bad thing happened. But in the end, it won't matter, and most likely you've survived situations just like this, if not even worse. And so if you'd survived them before, you got through them before, then what's the difference this time? Why wouldn't you survive again? Why wouldn't you make it through this again? Why wouldn't you survive? You see, most of us have been through hard stuff and we've made it through. We're still alive and we're still kicking. And so even though we might look back and we're like, oh, but those were the good old days where everything was amazing. But we shouldn't forget that today is the good old days of tomorrow. And so if tomorrow or in the future we're gonna look back at these days and we're gonna be like, wow, those were the most amazing days of my life, the best days, then why not enjoy them now? If in a few years we're gonna look back at this and be like, those were the best days of my life, then why not see as the best days of your life right now? And once again, you might be, but I'm going through such hard things. But you've been through them before and you've survived before. And when you look back at those things that you survived before and the bad times that happened before, usually you will look at them fondly. You're like, oh, that was a good lesson. I learned a lot. I'm glad I went through it because now I have a story to tell. You usually actually see as a positive thing. And so once again, why would it be any different this time? Why wouldn't you look back at the struggles you're having right now and say to yourself, you know what, I'm glad that they happened because now I have a fantastic story to tell. Or you just learned a bunch of life lessons that you otherwise would have never learned. And even if this is the final struggle, the last big battle that actually results in the end of you, even if this is somehow kills you, which it's most likely it's not. Most likely you're not gonna die from whatever the bad thing that is happening right now is. But even if it does kill you, then so what? Then you won't be here to care about it. So it doesn't even matter. And in the end, even death is not really a big deal if you think about it. I mean, billions of people have died before, yet the earth still orbits the sun, and the moon still orbits the earth, and the tide comes in, and the tide goes out, and society moves on, even though billions of people have died. So what's one more? you know? And so even death doesn't really mean that much. It's not like that impactful. And so when you change your perspective and you look at the situation you are in right now, and even though it might feel drastic and impactful and horrible, in the grand scheme of things, it's not. The universe won't care, the things will still continue to happen, the universe will continue to expand. Like, in the grand scheme of things, your problems are pretty damn small and meaningless. And the key thing to not taking life too seriously and having just a bit of fun is really to change your perspective. Because perspective is super important. I mean, think about it. If you look at the moon right now, you might be like, wow, the moon is beautiful. Because that's the perspective that you have. From down here on Earth, the moon looks beautiful. But if you went to the moon and you stood on the moon, you would look around and you might be a bit underwhelmed. Oh, it's just a big rock. It's a bit boring. And you might say to yourself, is this it? Because your perspective changed. And so instead of seeing it as beautiful, now it's boring, underwhelming. There's not really anything fantastic about it, or beautiful, or special in any way. And the same way you can change bad situations into good, and good into bad. And truly it is perspective that defines how you feel about these things. So for example, you might look outside right now and you might be like, whoa, it's raining. Raining is bad weather. But imagine you were a person born on Mars. Think about it. 200 years in the future, you're a person that is born on Mars, who literally cannot go outside without a spacesuit, who has never seen Earth, who has never felt the rain hitting their face or having wet clothes or anything. They've never felt anything like that. And those people born on Mars, who might very well exist in a few hundred years in the future, would give everything just to experience the rain once in their life. Yet you call it bad weather. Because once again, perspective. From your perspective of Earth, you've seen the rain many times. You've experienced it many times. And usually you're like, oh, well, I've already experienced it. I just don't want to get wet again. And I don't want to, go outside and, then I have to dry off all the clothes. And it's just extra work. But from the perspective of someone on Mars, that might be a life experience to them. Something worth immeasurable amount of, money and so on. You cannot even measure it because it's such an important experience that they would want to have. And so perspective truly is everything. And once you change your perspective and you realize that by changing your perspective, you can make good situations into bad ones, but you can also do the opposite. You can live in a sense, a bad life, but you can be super happy and joyful and enjoy it to the fullest because you just have the correct perspective. But you can also live a wonderful life and be miserable because you have the wrong perspective. And so you need to change your perspective into the positive one. You need to be grateful for all the things that you have. And it's easier said than done. I understand that. Nor am I perfect, nor is anyone. So don't worry about being perfect, but just try to remind yourself to be a bit better. To remind yourself things aren't as bad as they seem, and in the future you won't even care. 2 weeks from now, the problems that you have right now, probably you won't even remember. And even if you do, once you're dead, you definitely won't care about them because you'll be chilling in heaven with the boys or something. But anyway, remember to change your perspective, and that's how you can be happy. And don't take life too seriously. But just because you don't take life too seriously doesn't mean that you cannot chase your dreams or you cannot stay disciplined, because those you should absolutely be. And so I'm going to tell you once again, stay disciplined, chase your dreams, and have a fantastic day.